Yes, they can. Not only does this work in theory, but it does work in practice. Hi everybody, we are now 45 episodes in, and even though over the last couple of episodes I was able to make a lot of progress specifically with modules, like I have a decent stockpile over here, and fluid production, like we have refining and plastic, batteries, explosives, even lubricant and flamethrower ammo over here, we really haven't made a whole lot of progress for the base as a whole. So I'm hoping we can get a little bit more done to help the entire base instead of just essentially module production. So let's get started with the live stream to get some chores done. The plan for today, I would like to upgrade the nuclear power plants before moving on much further because even right now with the status of the base, I'm running out of steam or electricity, particularly at nighttime. So that's a problem that I want to get on top of before anything else because we're going to only be expanding even bigger and I don't want to get behind and therefore get some brownouts. So we're going to be upgrading this somehow. Also, something I've been wanting to do for quite some time is get rid of this horrible, ugly, outdated oil build that we established very early on, which we no longer need because in episode 44 we finished getting all of the fluid production, at least for like a little bit of products. So we've got acid covered, we've got sulfur, plastic, explosives, batteries we've got covered. We've got even some cracking going on, which goes into solid fuel and then therefore rocket fuel. And I've got lubricant over here, and then I even added in flamethrower ammo, which I did off camera because I forgot it in last episode, which was 52 minutes long. So if you guys want to catch up in better detail, check out episode 44. Otherwise, we're going to just move right along and figure out something to do with power here for nuclear power, and then, like I said, getting rid of this ugly stuff. So I think getting rid of the ugly stuff is the stuff I want to do first. So let's have the bots help out here. And then one nice thing about having all of this stuff demolished is that we can then have this space free. Oh, speaking of power, one of these is out of nuclear fuel cells. Let me just request 150. I'm still manually feeding in the fuel cells for now because I do have to figure out how I'm going to actually get them delivered in the cars and then picked up by the inserters here along the way, but we'll worry about that later. Let's keep demolishing stuff. Alright, getting rid of this crap. I am so looking forward to this because this has just been an eyesore for so long now, and I really haven't been using most of this stuff for quite some time. I do still have to come up with a bigger version of like lubricant and acid and stuff like that that will supply the science builds in the future, but that's still a little ways away, but not too far off actually. Awesome. That really didn't take long at all. So this area is getting cleared up. We'll add in the blue circuit factory because we do need 2 of them in this circle. And now that I have that room, we can finally plop down the second blue circuit factory. So then all we have to do is line it up like that, and that should be perfect. All right, back to power. Let's add in a little bit more of those things and escape from those bots before they grab from my inventory. So my plan for power, we only want to get rid of 1 nuclear power plant at a time to hopefully prevent too much of a power loss or a brownout. But I wasn't able to fit 2 nuclear plants into each quadrant before because I have these like buffer steam tanks here on the sides. But theoretically, I might be able to fit 2 in each of these quadrants if I get rid of the buffers, which is okay. And then I'll have to change some of the math on the combinators and stuff over here, but that's not a big deal. Well, one stream over, and even though I wasn't able to capture it during the actual stream, I was able to figure out a solution to my power problem off camera. What I was able to do was get rid of the buffer steam tanks that I had that were going along the sides, and I was able to kind of configure them here in the middle in this shape here, and just barely squeeze 2 of my nuclear power plants into one quadrant. So now I was able to double my entire nuclear power production by having 2 in each of these quadrants, therefore 4, which really makes me feel tons better about having some security with my power, because I was running very, very low the last couple of episodes. So this should hopefully solve my problems for a little while. Unfortunately, I don't have a private logistic network for each of the nuclear power plants. So basically it's a shared logistic network with everything else. So the bots are just delivering it from my fuel cell area all the way over here into the requester boxes. And there's no good way to deliver the fuel cells via car, at least with how this is set up. But for now, at least it solves the power crisis and it works, which is what really matters. And what that means is that we can actually start to move on with something that I've been putting off but knowing is a necessary evil in terms of a project to do. And that project is what I'm calling car stations. What I mean by that is, if you guys recall from my base plans episode where I showed the diagram of my artistic ideas of what I had in mind for the mega base, is that I had these little squiggly areas here that I was thinking we would have cars kind of branch off of the main car bus line here, and they would zigzag back and forth, basically collecting materials into the trunk of the car. That way I don't have to have so many pauses throughout the main circle area, and I have kind of a central location for car item delivery. So let's see where to start. We do need belts, and I want it to be likely at the junctions, kind of where we have it basically at a flat point here where the belt's pretty straight. And this is an area where the car will travel regardless of whether it goes into the circle or whether it's only on the outside. So if I were to branch off, I guess at this point, I'm sure that I can get every car to travel along this path that I'm going to be dividing off from the main circle here. So let's see, how do I want to do this? I need it to kind of zigzag and snake around, but I think I'm going to have it go straight first, and I have no idea how much I need in terms of like how wide or long this little car station needs to be, but let's try to keep it in line with, or maybe even just like symmetrical. So there's 2 tiles, or at least 1 tile in between the walls here, so let's have it go like that for now. Ooh, I don't know if that's gonna be wide enough, but let's start with that. And so we can cut and paste things as we need to, but let's grab a couple boxes. And then actually this needs to go away, but we can start putting down some inserters and the boxes here. So what I'm thinking is we'll have it kind of snake around like so, just back and forth. Like that. And now let's try and copy the whole thing at this point here. Like that. Oh, that's needing to go. I may have to make this wider, but at least let's start with something small, and then we can test it and then make it bigger as needed. I don't think we have to deliver power quite yet, because I'm more interested to see if the car is going to actually travel along this and get it positioned correctly and then back into the main car belt line network type of thing here. Let's see. So that goes there. No, hold on. How am I going to get this back onto the line? Because looking at the orientation of the car as it passes on here, I need it kind of more oriented onto the far right-hand side of the belt instead of either left or center. So how am I going to do that? Let's snake this around. Let's have it like kind of wrap back on itself. Oh, okay. Phew. That still works. Okay. I guess let's... I don't know if I need that there or not. Let's try it with this. But that just leaves trying it. So let's get rid of this. We'll orient it that way now. And then we'll see the cars travel on the belt line here. So instead of going straight, it's now making a diversion. Ooh, looks like I'm gonna have some problems here though. Oh, yep, are they gonna... Ooh, they barely didn't crash, but I imagine if, like, depending on where the cars are in the cycle, they could technically hit each other. Ooh, let's see, is it gonna happen? Ooh, barely. Barely avoided a crash there. So I may have to buy myself a little bit more room and move this up a little bit. How do I do that appropriately? Let's put a pause there. And we'll move this up by a tile, just so that the cars traveling on the bottom belt don't hit the cars traveling in the belts that are doing the zigzag stuff. Ooh, how come these cars are stalled though? What is oh, they're like hitting each other here. Okay. All right. So they may need to go like this. And we'll do that there just to even it out a little bit, or at least fix it so it's only on the right-hand side of the belt. All right, take number 2. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Uh-oh. I'm trying to delete stuff that I shouldn't be. Oh, no. I have all this stuff now in my inventory. I don't want to delete this stuff, you guys. No. Okay. Phew. All right. So... looks like they're able to fit on this line and that line without hitting each other, just barely. So that's good. Now can they get back onto the main line here? Yes, they can. Not only does this work in theory, but it does work in practice. Very good. Now, I just have to kind of tweak a couple of these things, get it exactly how I want it. And then from there, we can figure out how we're going to install some train stations that are going to be delivering the products into the boxes here, which we are going to change into requester boxes. So what that means is I'm probably going to have to get rid of these robo bays like that, just to buy myself a little bit more room over here for having it be its own private logistic bot network, just to basically feed from active provider boxes that our trains are going to be delivering into. And then from the active provider boxes, they will go into the requester boxes in this section. And then once I get a good kind of blueprint for what I like in this type of car station and train station mix-up, I can then distribute it throughout the entire base. So we're probably going to have one here, 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 and then in 3 different spots on the upper circles as well. Hopefully I can get all of that fit correctly and maintaining their private logistic networks. So depending on if that works or not, we might have to tweak a couple things, but give me a couple minutes and then we'll see what we can come up with. Well, it has been more than just a couple minutes in between cuts. In fact, it's been probably closer to a couple hours in between cuts, and I got a little bit carried away, needless to say. But ultimately, looking at the section we have here, I think this is going to be close to the finished design that we're going to be using at multiple parts throughout the base to provide a car item delivery and train station drop-off point for the cars traveling between all 3 circles. So to explain a couple differences that you'll be seeing in the design between previous cuts, first of all, I was able to expand the setup to be a little bit wider. So instead of having the car belt division just going straight at this point, I have it jagging a little bit more here. So having it be wider means I have more room for more boxes, and more boxes means more opportunity to fit those products within the boxes into the trunk of the car. So that's an advantage of having it wider here. The other obvious thing is that in addition to having a wider car belt section, we now have train stations. This design in particular has, I think, 5 or 6 train stations, but for the other stops that we incorporate through other parts of the base, I think we're going to only be having 3 train stations max. But the reason why I had more train stations in this part in particular is because at the part where we are in the base, I'm thinking instead of having multiple train car stations for the bottommost circle here, here, and here, I'm only going to be having the 1 car train junction. So that means I had to fit more train stations to this bottommost area because I'm not planning on having stops to the west or the east. So I was hopefully able to fit enough train stations in here that we can maintain throughput of the products needed in the main bottommost circle. But we haven't technically turned it on yet, so I can't technically say for sure that this will truly work. But in theory, how I'm hoping it will work is that the western train station will be devoted to iron and steel drop-off. So that means that we'll have a 2-4 train setup, so 2 locomotives at the front, 4 cargo wagons, and within the cargo wagons we'll split it up between steel and iron plate. And those will drop off into active providers here. And then eventually, this will be its own logistic bot network, so we'll have logistic bots deliver from the active provider boxes into what will eventually become fully requester boxes. I've only got a couple of them installed here, but eventually these regular steel chests will become requester boxes. And then those requester boxes will feed the items within the box into the trunk of the car. So that will be the same for the left and right stations. The right station is going to be for coal and copper plate to be dropped off. And then this station here, which you can see is actually kind of on a curve, and then the mostly flat part here will hopefully deliver stone and stone brick into these boxes here. And then the train station just below that, which is this one here, is going to be for drop off and incorporation of products into the cargo wagons for a nuclear fuel setup. So we'll probably eventually move the nuclear fuel and Covarex enrichment process blueprint from over here, from the very far right, over into a more linear design somewhere in a smelting area over here somewhere. But eventually we'll have iron plate and rocket fuel delivered into one of the cargo wagons, and then we can have the empty fuel cells delivered also back into one of the cargo wagons, and then these inserters here pulling from the train will deliver the regular fuel cells into these active providers, and then from there, bots will deliver them into the main network, into the cars, zigzagging around, and then we can have either bots pick them up or some sort of way to get them actually into the nuclear plants over here, but we can figure out those logistics a little bit later on. But that's what that train station will be for. And then the last train station is going to be for a personal train, which I could just have 1 locomotive, or I could have it be 1 in the front, 1 in the back. Ultimately, I can decide that also a little bit later, but I figured probably not a bad idea to have another personal train station here to the south in addition to the one we already have up here to the top. So that is this design. Still not fully turned on, so I cannot guarantee that all of this stuff will fully work yet until we fully turn everything on. But I think it's hopefully going to work, and I'm confident enough that I'm ready to install them in other parts of the base. So the other parts we have to install them were going to be the bottom left and northern parts of the left and right circles. So that means in this area over here, we're going to be installing 1 and let's use this one, although I'm going to have to modify it and get rid of the miscellaneous train stations that I don't plan on using. And I am worried about lining it up perfectly because I know anytime there is a rail track within a blueprint, it can move over the blueprint by like a tile or so, which is unfortunate. Oh my gosh, am I ever gonna get this lined up? Okay, that's lined up from top to bottom. Oh no, it doesn't fit perfectly. Dang it. Crap. Well, what we can do, let's make another blueprint that maybe this one here, which apparently I already made. This one is meant for east sides or like horizontal facing tracks because I needed an extra tile for the horizontal tracks so that the cars don't hit each other when they're passing, just kind of like we experienced in the previous cut. So right there, actually. Whoop, I got misaligned. Okay, looks like it won't fit exactly, but it will be pretty close. So let's just place it, I think, right there. This won't be the perfect blueprint anyway because we still have some coal miners in place, but this is more of just a placeholder. So we'll have the car train checkpoint there. We'll most likely end up having to move these train tracks somewhere else because obviously the ones going from left to right have nowhere to go, so those will have to go somewhere else. And I'm getting attacked meanwhile. But let's keep placing this around and hopefully we can get it to fit mostly correctly. We'll have to make probably a couple modifications to the design. But as long as I have the placeholders, then I can know hopefully where to start placing other factories because I did want to build from middle and work my way out instead of working my way from out to in. If I do it from in to out, I can guarantee that I'm leaving myself enough room at least for the stuff that is going within the middle. There we go. And then we'll complete this process on the upper side of this one as well as the other circle as well. So I'll be right back once that is done. A little while later, and now all of the train car checkpoint areas are installed, or at least mostly installed, let me put it that way, because I've added 3 to the upper circles, so one here, here, and here, 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 and kind of here, or at least it will be there eventually once I get rid of the original smelting area. But I kind of installed the little car train checkpoint thingies on top of the current rail setup because I know that once I delete this, unless I have another one ready to go, I'm basically stopping production or smelting and therefore production of modules. So I don't want to install that quite yet. So I basically just left that on top of everything. I'll demolish this and put in a real rail network later. But I think that's what we're going to be saving for episode 46. We're going to be finishing the rail network then, but at least we're off to a good start now with the train car junction checkpoint thingies, whatever you want to call it. That's enough progress for one episode. Let me know what you guys think about these setups in the comment section down below, and I hope you guys will stick around for episode 46 here pretty soon.